one of the things to think about when choosing a school for your children, if you have the option to. The first thing we think of, obviously, is a school, for educators, is a school report card. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a big group of a lot of numbers and data. And so if it's uncomfortable for you to look at, then what I'm going to say next is maybe a little bit more difficult to digest, because you can't just look at it at its face value. You have to then dig in to say, oh, the students are scoring well and that this many have met the standards. You have to take a different look at how the subgroups are doing. And subgroups is a fancy name for minority students, right? So how are those students performing in comparison to their peers, and not just, and being mindful of what the disparity is or what the achievement gap really is for those students. I would also be concerned if you're familiar with the community and you see half the room with black and brown faces, but the school doesn't have subgroups. What that means is that they've strategically excluded enough students where they don't have to report those numbers to the state. So that's another thing to sort of be mindful of when you're thinking about how do I choose a school? Do they have subgroups, and if not, why? The other thing you want to look at, what I did before we moved, was find myself in the online parent discussion groups. So they have online blogs in my community. My guess is that they have a mom and dad's group of a lot of different communities. And I just got in and was just silent and a little bit nosy. So I looked back at some old posts and figured out what were they talking about. And when this conversation of the community school came up, what was the discussion around, and what were the concerns that were raised by the parents, and what's the general perception of the children, and specifically the children of color in the community. And the other thing what I would think about is the diversity of the faculty. So the school may be diverse, but how deliberate has the school district been in helping the faculty to match the student body? Have they been deliberate about that? And that's a really good question to sort of ask. And last but not least, I would walk the neighborhood. So if you have to park your car someplace and just take a walk around and see how well you're received in the community. Because chances are, and depending on how your family looks, you have to be mindful of your children in that community too. And how are they embraced? If you just go sit at the playground in the area or near the local school, what's the feedback that you get from the community? That'll tell you a lot.